Hello, namaskar. This is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Peace does not come easy, and Donald Trump is learning that the hard way. Despite his outreach, Russia has rejected a complete ceasefire and looks like it has riled up the US president. He says he's pissed off at Vladimir Putin. What does this mean for the Ukraine peace process? Is Putin playing the US president? Meanwhile, there could be trouble in the oil market. The US is threatening two key producers, Iran and Russia, with sanctions. We'll tell you what it means for oil prices. Will Donald Trump visit Saudi Arabia again for his maiden presidential trip? Multiple reports say he will. We'll try and discuss why. Why is Saudi Arabia so special for him? Why is the US Defense Secretary in Japan? How is India helping the search and rescue effort in Myanmar? Why are Nepal's politicians calling for the former king's arrest? Why is Mohammed Yunus talking about Indian states in China? And how much data are you sharing with big tech? In the era of Ghibli images and health trackers, you should be aware of the pitfalls. All this and more lined up. The headlines first. Huge setback for French far-right leader Marine Le Pen. A court bans her from running for office for 5 years after finding her guilty of embezzling European Union funds. This means Le Pen will not be able to stand in the 2027 presidential election. She was also handed a 4-year prison term, but will not go to jail. Iran's supreme leader warns of a strong response if the US or its allies bomb the Islamic Republic. On Saturday, Donald Trump had threatened to bomb Iran if it did not agree to a new deal, which would curb its nuclear program. This prompted Tehran to summon the diplomat representing American interests in Iran. Russian President Vladimir Putin is expected to meet China's top diplomat this week. While in Moscow, Wang Yi will also hold talks with his Russian counterpart. This comes as the US pushes to end the 3-year conflict in Ukraine. China has close relations with Russia. Many European countries have called on Beijing to press Moscow to agree to a truce. Donald Trump says he is not joking about a possible third term as US president, claims there are methods by which one can do it. This would defy the 2-term limit laid down in America's Constitution. Amending it would require a 2/3 majority in the Senate and the House of Representatives, which Trump's Republican Party does not have. The US dollar suffers its worst monthly losses since 2022 as Wall Street joins the global sell-off. Shares slide after President Trump said new reciprocal tariffs are expected this week. Goldman Sachs also raises its probability of a recession in the US. And in Zimbabwe, a protest call shuts down businesses and offices in key cities as the police patrol the deserted streets. The call for protest was given by a faction of the president's own party, who are demanding his resignation. 8 years ago, the president took charge in a coup.
The war, everybody has problems. Even you.
Stupid president, and your men are brave, but they have used our military.
President Donald Trump is many things. Stubborn, for sure, outspoken, definitely, and defiant, without a doubt. But patient? That's one word you would not associate with Donald Trump. And that's also one thing that you need in diplomacy. You have to be patient. Trump was always in a hurry to end the war in Ukraine. He promised to end the fighting on day 1 in office. More than 2 months have passed, and all we have is a broken truce. This is clearly frustrating the US president. He unloaded on Russian President Putin yesterday. He said he was very angry and pissed off. Listen in.
You could say that I was very angry, pissed off, when Putin started getting into Zelensky's credibility, because that's not going in the right location.
This is sharp criticism from Trump, sharp and rare. He's called Zelensky all sorts of things. But he's generally been respectful of President Putin. So what triggered this outburst? Perhaps Putin's remarks last week. The Russian president was in Murmansk last week. He said two controversial things. Number one, he questioned Trump's claims on Greenland. And number two, he questioned Zelensky's credibility. Putin proposed an election to replace the Ukrainian regime. Listen to this.
It would be possible, under the auspices of the UN, with the United States, even with European countries, and of course with our partners and friends, to discuss the possibility of introducing temporary administration in Ukraine. For what? In order to hold democratic elections, in order to bring to power a viable government that enjoys the people's trust, and then begin negotiations with it on a peace treaty.
This seems to have riled up Trump. He too had called for Zelensky to be replaced, but now he's made a U-turn. Trump has made a U-turn. He says Putin will have to strike a deal with Zelensky whether he likes him or not. And that's the thing with Donald Trump. You really don't know where his loyalties lie. Because in the same breath, he also lashed out at Zelensky. He said he's trying to back out of a minerals deal.
I think he wants to make a deal. And I think Zelensky, by the way, I see he's trying to back out of the rare earth deal. And if he does that, he's got some problems, big problems. We made a deal with rare earth. And now he's saying, well, you know, I want to renegotiate the deal. He wants to be a member of NATO. Well, he was never going to be a member of NATO. He understands that. So if he's looking to renegotiate the deal, he's got big problems.
So Trump is clearly frustrated, both with Zelensky and with Putin. Maybe he was expecting to make quick progress in the talks. Clearly, that's not happening. Trump's team met the Russians on the 18th of February. Both sides agreed to end the fighting. Later on, Trump secured two partial ceasefires. The first one was on energy infrastructure, which both sides have violated. Russia and Ukraine, they violated this one. And the second one is in the Black Sea, which was already devoid of any military action. So both these ceasefires were largely symbolic. They lacked a roadmap to settle this conflict once and for all. And it's not a good look for President Trump. He takes a lot of pride in his negotiating skills. In fact, his book is called The Art of the Deal. But right now, he's on the receiving end of what? A negotiating masterclass by Vladimir Putin. Let's take a look at the last 2 months. The Russian president made two crucial moves in this time. One, he forced Trump to reveal his hand, and two, he played for time. Putin was among the first leaders to congratulate Trump last year. He also spoke on the phone to Trump and readily agreed to end the war in Ukraine. Putin agreed. And the result was this. Putin put the ball in Zelensky's court. After that, it was all about waiting. When Zelensky refused to talk, Trump piled the pressure on him. And in the process, he also revealed his hand. Trump ruled out NATO membership for Ukraine. He briefly cut off military aid to Ukraine. And he called Zelensky a dictator. And then he openly admitted that Russia has all the cards. It must have been music to Putin's ears because it revealed Trump's limits and red lines. So that is the first move. Putin forced Trump to reveal his hand. Now to the second move. You cannot just randomly talk about peace. You must back it up with actions. In Putin's case, he came up with symbolic actions. First, the energy truce, then the Black Sea truce. Both gave the impression of progress, though in reality they meant very little. They bought more time for Russian troops on the battlefield. And last week, Putin made that clear. He says Russia has claimed the initiative along the entire front line and he plans to finish off Ukraine.
What is happening today is essentially also clear. Our troops have the strategic initiative along the entire line of combat contact. I said quite recently that we would get the best of them, but there is reason to believe that we will finish them off.
This strategy is still being employed. Moscow is talking about another Trump-Putin phone call. They've also started talks on rare earths. You heard that right. Even Russia wants to sell natural resources to the US. And once again, it's the same tactic. When the pressure mounts, give Donald Trump a symbolic victory, like a partial truce or a rare earth deal. The question is, what is the end goal here? What happens next? Well, that depends on Trump. If he loses interest, it is advantage Putin. If he abandons Ukraine, it's again advantage Putin. And if he piles pressure on Russia, it's the same as before. Moscow has withstood thousands of sanctions since the war began. I'm sure they can survive a few more. I guess Trump is getting a taste of real world diplomacy here. He is not mediating between Israel and Arab powers. He is talking to the largest nuclear power in the world. Threats and ultimatums will not work. So Russia is in Trump's crosshairs. He wants to sanction Russian oil unless Putin agrees to a deal in Ukraine. And this is important because oil revenues are the backbone of the Russian economy. And Trump is looking to target a key Russian weakness here. What does it mean for the global oil market? Will oil prices shoot up? They did see a marginal rise in today's trade. On the surface, things seem to be holding steady, but beneath the surface, there's a fair bit of chaos. Because Trump's warnings are not limited to Russia. He's also targeting Venezuela. Starting the 2nd of April, any country buying Venezuelan oil will face a 25% tariff in the US. That's two major oil producers that Trump is eyeing, Russia and Venezuela. And here's the third one, Iran. Trump is threatening military strikes on Iran. Listen to this.
We're going to make a decision on secondary tariffs on Iran based on whether or not they're going to make a deal. If they're going to make a deal, then we're never going to put secondary tariffs on. We're going to hope they have a great, long, and successful life as a country. But we'll see what happens.
If Trump goes ahead with this, global oil supply will take a big hit. Russia alone exports 5 million barrels of oil per day. That's around 5% of the global demand that comes from Russia. 5 million barrels of oil a day. Then you have Venezuela. They contribute 760,000 barrels daily. And Iran supplies 1.5 million barrels a day. If Trump decides to attack Iran, he will put 1.4% of the global oil supply at risk. That is the contribution of Iran. So it's a tough situation. Like I said, the markets are holding firm for now, but they're on a knife's edge. It's not clear how serious Trump is about his warnings, how his sanctions will work, and how he plans to enforce them. More importantly, will other countries comply with America's diktats after Trump's trade war on everyone? Will they defy him? Will they look for a backdoor? We don't know. There are a lot of questions and uncertainty. Trump's threats are loud, but his direction is unclear. Plus, there are other variables in this mix, other risks that could determine the trajectory of oil prices. What are these risks? Number one, the situation in West Asia. This region is volatile due to Israel's war in Gaza and tensions in the Red Sea. This month, the US launched a campaign in Yemen. They attacked the Houthis and killed more than 20 people. The Houthis have retaliated.
The Yemeni armed forces affirm that American aggression will only strengthen the resolve and resilience of the Yemeni people. The confrontations over the past days are merely the beginning of a gradual expansion of defensive operations in the coming days, and the enemy will witness more of the strength and determination of Yemen's steadfast and unyielding people. We will continue to prevent Israeli navigation in the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea, and we remain committed to supporting our resilient and oppressed brothers in Gaza until the aggression against them ceases and the siege is lifted.
Ships traveling through the Red Sea are at risk, and this has implications on oil prices because this is one of the world's most important shipping routes, especially for oil transit. If the Houthis continue to attack, it would be a repeat of 2023. That's when the Houthis attacked ships in the Red Sea and sparked a global shipping crisis. If that happens again, oil prices could spike. So that's the first risk to watch out for. The second one is OPEC's next move. OPEC stands for the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC. It's basically an oil cartel. It has 12 members. Saudi Arabia controls the group because it is the world's biggest oil supplier. And OPEC controls the world's oil supply. This cartel wants to raise the output of oil because they have been losing market share. They're being challenged by the likes of the US and Canada. Let me show you some numbers. In 2016, OPEC and its partners controlled over 50% of the oil market. But by next year, 2026, their share could fall to 46%. So OPEC wants to raise output to recapture this market share. More oil means one thing, a drop in the prices. So tensions in West Asia, OPEC's production cuts, and Donald Trump's threats. These three factors could determine oil prices. Countries like India and China would be watching these trends closely because both countries rely heavily on oil imports. They're sensitive to price hikes. They could be affected by all these three scenarios. Number one, if Trump imposes tariffs and restricts oil suppliers, prices would rise. Number two, if tensions escalate in West Asia, prices would rise. And number three, if OPEC boosts production, prices would fall. Right now, there's a fragile balance in place, but the risks are piling up. We'll keep track for you.
In terms of dollars, $3 billion, $533 million.
There's an old playbook for new American presidents, especially when it comes to their first big foreign trip. You shake hands in London, maybe share a polite chuckle with Canada, or pay a visit to Mexico City. Most American presidents have followed this, but not Donald Trump. He first became president in the year 2017 and tossed this playbook out the window. Trump's first foreign trip as president was to Saudi Arabia. And now he's in the White House again for a second term. Guess where he's heading first? Back to Saudi Arabia. Reports suggest that Trump will visit the kingdom in the month of May. That will be his first foreign trip as US president. Which brings us to the question, why Saudi Arabia? Why does Trump keep going there first? And what does he hope to achieve? Let's start with the last one. What does he hope to achieve? If there's one thing that Trump loves, it's a big flashy deal. That's what he got in 2017. He landed in Saudi Arabia, he got a grand reception, and he secured a $450 billion investment.
In this day, I just want to thank everybody, but tremendous investments into the United States, and our military community is very happy, and we want to thank you and Saudi Arabia. But hundreds of billions of dollars of investments into the United States, and jobs, jobs, jobs.
This time he's outdoing himself. Riyadh has pledged to invest $600 billion in the US, $600 billion, but Trump is not happy. He wants $1 trillion. 1 trillion, that's one with 12 zeros, and that's what Trump hopes to achieve on this trip. Of course, when and how this money flows is an entirely different story. But this is not just about the money. It's the way Trump does business. He doesn't like slow, bureaucratic diplomacy. He likes big numbers, catchy headlines, and immediate results. In 2018, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman was in the White House, and Donald Trump came with a chart. It showed the American weapons sales to Saudi Arabia.
To Saudi Arabia very soon, and that's for their protection. But if you look in terms of dollars, $3 billion, $533 million, $525 million, that's peanuts for you.
This is Trump's style, and you could say it aligns with the Saudi royal family. They don't bother with stiff formality or cautious maneuvering. They go over the top, and that's what they did with Donald Trump. Riyadh rolled out the red carpet for him. They made him feel like a king with their gold-plated receptions, their lavish banquets, and their sword dances. So Trump got his multi-billion-dollar deals and Saudi Arabia got political support. That's how they played it the last time. And they seem to be gearing up for round two. Now, to be fair, Trump is not the first US president to cozy up to the Saudis. Washington has been cutting deals with Riyadh since the 1940s. Roosevelt struck a pact. Oil for security. Saudi oil for American security. That was the deal. The deal that shaped West Asian politics for decades. Presidents Carter, Reagan, Bush, Obama, they all played this game. But things hit a rough patch with Joe Biden. He started on a bad note with the Saudi royals and he could never really mend the ties. Now Biden is out, Donald Trump is back in office. He wants to take it to the next level. Unlike his predecessors, Trump's Saudi connection is not just political. It is very personal. The Saudis bailed out Trump's son-in-law. His name is Jared Kushner. He was a big shot in Trump's first term. He has kept a low profile this time. The Saudis gave Jared Kushner a lifeline of $2 billion. Plus, they have strong business ties, the Trump Organization and the Saudis. In 2024, they announced their second tower in Riyadh. And then there's Trump's favorite sport, golf. Donald Trump has strong ties with Live Golf. That's the golf tour backed by the Saudi Sovereign Fund. Trump has praised it multiple times. In 2023, Live Golf announced a merger with the US-based PGA Tour. The deal is yet to be closed, but Trump is doing his best to secure it. So as you can see, Trump's ties are more than political. They're very much financial and personal. Take the Jamal Khashoggi episode. He was a Saudi dissident. He was killed in the Saudi embassy in Turkey, reportedly on the orders of the Saudi crown prince. When the case came to light, every Western nation isolated the Saudi kingdom, but not Donald Trump.
We are going to leave nothing uncovered. With that being said, the king firmly denied any knowledge of it. He didn't really know. Maybe, I don't want to get into his mind, but it sounded to me like maybe these could have been rogue killers. Who knows?
There's also the war in Ukraine. Trump wants to end it. And helping him in this pursuit is Saudi Arabia. They're playing the role of mediator. All big meetings between the Americans, the Russians, and the Ukrainians are being held in Riyadh. And this says a lot about the relationship. Trump loves the Saudi kingdom. But what's the agenda for this visit? He's looking at the next big prize, not just the money. He also wants a normalization deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel. These two countries do not recognize each other. They have no official diplomatic ties. If Trump can change that, he would change West Asia forever. And it's a deal that he has long pursued. In his last term, he got 4 Arab states to recognize Israel: the UAE, Bahrain, Morocco, and Sudan. Adding Saudi Arabia appeared to be just a matter of time, but that was during the last term. Right now, the picture is very different. West Asia is a mess. The war in Gaza is raging. The Saudis want a clear path to Palestinian statehood. They cannot be seen as abandoning Gaza after all that has happened in the last year. So normalization with Israel right now would be very tough. Of course, Saudi Arabia would also want something in return, and that's literally the trillion-dollar question. What does Riyadh want? Maybe more military support, maybe advanced weapons, maybe even nuclear technology. We shall find out soon enough. From Trump's love for Saudi Arabia, we turn to his plans for China. U.S. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is in Japan. He's basically the American defense minister. He is in Japan and he has been sent by President Trump himself. Pete Hegseth's task is clear: prepare for war with China. This is his first visit to Asia in his current role. His first stop was in the Philippines. Hegseth announced unwavering support for Manila. The U.S. and the Philippines are expanding their ties. Both nations see China as a threat, but the optics in Manila were rather tame. 2 joint press conferences were held. Both lacked substance. It was the usual diplomatic stuff. Both sides spoke of securing the Indo-Pacific region. There were multiple mentions of maintaining the status quo, and they agreed to increase deterrence. China was mentioned just once. Taiwan was not mentioned at all. All of this was in Manila. Then Hegseth went to Japan and his tone changed completely. He has made some big announcements in Tokyo. 1, the US is recommitting to Japan. 2, the US will send more troops to Japan. And 3, a new war-fighting command will be established in Japan. Listen to this.
America's warriors stand shoulder to shoulder every day with their Japan Self-Defense Force counterparts. Our forces operate and train together across all domains to uphold deterrence. America and Japan stand firmly together in the face of aggressive and coercive actions by the Communist Chinese. And with that, I want to announce that the Defense Department has started phase 1 of upgrading U.S. Forces Japan to a joint force headquarters.
Hegseth directly named China as a threat, and he said this in Tokyo. So clearly, Trump is pivoting hard towards Japan. He's creating a new war-fighting command. What does that mean? What is a war-fighting command? You see, as of now, the US has many soldiers in Japan, more than 55,000 troops, according to the latest reports. More than 55,000 American troops in Japan. It is the largest overseas deployment for Washington. These American troops are scattered across Japan, mostly in 8 major bases. But there are nearly 120 US military facilities. I'll repeat that for you. 120 military facilities in Japan are American. And all of these come under one unit. It is called the United States Forces Japan. This unit is a subordinate of the US Indo-Pacific Command. It oversees logistical and administrative tasks in Japan. And now this unit will get its own war room, because Trump sees Japan as the first line of defense. So the US commander in Japan can now launch offensive missions. And this is a major shift in the American doctrine. Until now, they were only training Japanese forces. They were not meant to launch attacks. So this is a serious upgrade. Listen to this.
This also means reorganizing U.S. Forces Japan into a warfighting headquarters, increasing its staff and giving its commander the authorities needed to accomplish new missions. As I mentioned in our meeting, America and Japan, we seek peace. But as my first platoon motto says, those who long for peace must prepare for war. We must be prepared.
Hegseth said the US and Japan must be prepared for war. His message has surely calmed nerves in Tokyo. Why do I say this? What was Tokyo worried about? Donald Trump's utterances. Just earlier this month, Trump had different plans for Japan. He wanted to end the US-Japan Security Treaty. This is a treaty that was signed way back in 1960. It allows the US to have these military bases on Japanese soil. And it has been the cornerstone of America's Indo-Pacific strategy. Japan depends on the US for security. It doesn't even have an army of its own. The Japanese only have what they call a self-defense force. But they've had a treaty with the US, a treaty that has held for 75 years. Then Donald Trump happened. He wanted to shred this treaty. He said America should not defend Japan because Japan does not offer security guarantees to the US, which is true, but only partially. You see, the US is like a bodyguard for Japan, but Tokyo is not freeloading. Japan pays almost $2 billion every year for this American security. $2 billion. This covers operational and housing costs for the American troops. Uncle Sam is clearly a costly security service provider. And there's more. This pact gives the US access to prime real estate. There are American facilities on nearly all of Japan's strategic islands, like Okinawa, which is the closest Japanese island to Taiwan. It also houses the largest American base in the Indo-Pacific. So it makes sense for the US to have Japan as a strategic ally. And Donald Trump knows this. He's trying to arm twist them to get a better deal. That's classic real estate tycoon behavior. But it's also counterproductive because ending the security pact with Japan will be a setback to the US. America's strategy against China is incomplete without Japan. And Pete Hegseth's visit is an admission of that reality. He has set the tone with a new war command and additional troops. Clearly, Trump is in no mood to let go of Japan. Now let's turn our attention to Myanmar, the war-torn nation to India's east. Last week, it suffered a devastating earthquake. The death toll has crossed 2,000, but experts warn the real number could be much higher, as high as 10,000, according to some estimates. As the rubble is cleared and more bodies are being found. In this moment of crisis for Myanmar, India has stepped forward to help. It has launched Operation Brahma and acted as the first responder. India was among the first countries to send aid to Myanmar. Indian rescue workers were the first ones to arrive in Myanmar's worst-hit cities. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi has spoken to Myanmar's military leader and offered India's full support. Our next report has more.
It was one of the deadliest quake Myanmar has seen in decades. About 2,000 people have died. The destruction was widespread, and India was among the first to respond. Soon after the quake, New Delhi launched Operation Brahma. The mission is named after the Hindu god of creation. The name carries a deeper meaning. India's immediate goal is rescue and relief. But its long-term aim goes further. It wants to help rebuild Myanmar, a country shattered by conflict and now shaken by a disaster. Members of the Indian Army, along with medical teams and the Disaster Response Force, were among the first to arrive on the ground. Over the weekend, India dispatched multiple planes as well as naval ships. Indian rescue teams were the first to arrive in Mandalay, one of the worst affected cities in Myanmar. In Naypyidaw, the capital of Myanmar, here too, Indian personnel were the first to arrive. The city's airport wasn't even fully functional. Over the weekend, India has shipped considerable aid. Reports say Myanmar has received 137 tons of supplies. This includes ration, tents, medicines, sleeping bags, and a fully functional field hospital. India's Disaster Response Force is helping Myanmar with the rescue efforts. They are armed with tools like concrete cutters, drill machines, and hammers. India has also taken rescue dogs to Myanmar. They'll help in search operations. And New Delhi says it's willing to do more if needed. Prime Minister Modi spoke with Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, the leader of the ruling military junta. In a post on X, PM Modi said that India stands in solidarity with Myanmar. But the rescue effort is proving to be challenging. In remote areas, several victims still remain trapped under rubble. The window to rescue them is closing. After an earthquake, the first 72 hours are critical. Beyond that, the chances of survival diminish rapidly, especially if the victims don't have any water. The damage from the quake was widespread. The tremors were felt as far away as Bangkok, where bridges and buildings collapsed, including an under-construction high-rise.
Building collapsed.
A Chinese company was behind this project, the China Railway No. 10 Engineering Group. It's a subsidiary of China Railway Engineering Corporation, or CREC, one of the largest construction and engineering contractors and owned by the Chinese state. The building was supposed to house Thailand's government agencies, including the State Audit Office. But now it lies in ruins. Whether it's Myanmar or Thailand, the damage is extensive and it will take months for the victims to recover.
A republic, if you can keep it. This is what Benjamin Franklin famously said in 1787. He had just drafted America's Constitution. Afterwards, a journalist asked him, "What have we got, a monarchy or a republic?" Franklin replied, "A republic, if you can keep it." These words ring true thousands of miles away in Nepal. It became a republic in 2008, but the people are struggling to keep it. Pro-monarchy protests have rocked the country. Let me repeat that. Protests to reinstate the king in a republic. That's what we are seeing in Nepal. Recently, these protests also turned violent. The monarchists clashed with the security personnel. More than 100 people were injured and at least 2 were killed. Take a look. The clashes have reached the parliament too. Usually parliament sessions are live streamed in Nepal, but yesterday the session was not, apparently because of technical issues. Later, a muted clip of the session was released. It shows heated exchanges in the lower house. Today, Prime Minister Palki Sharma Oli addressed the lawmakers. He accused the former king of disrupting social harmony. That's King Gyanendra Shah. He reigned from 2001 to 2008. He was ousted after Nepal became a republic. The government is clearly going after him. His security cover has been slashed. There is also a chorus to have him arrested. Several ruling party lawmakers have raised this demand. The question is, will Kathmandu agree? Chances are there will be a bigger crackdown. So far, Nepal has arrested 110 people, but Prime Minister Oli's language indicates something more. Let me quote from what he said. The alleged organizers attempted to drive a vehicle over the police and breached the restricted area. There were terrorist activities like setting fire to the international airport and the oil corporation's depot. Prime Minister Oli is calling these protests terrorism. Of course, any prime minister would. Nepal has fought hard to abolish the monarchy. No leader would support its return. Having said that, Oli is making one major mistake. He is not reading the public sentiment. Look at what he said last week. Oli told his lawmakers that India was involved in these protests. No evidence, no intelligence, just a random, baseless claim. And it's a strategy that we've seen before. Can't control your people, just blame the so-called foreign hand. But this strategy ignores the reality in Nepal, a disillusionment with democracy. That is the reality. Listen to some of these pro-monarchy protesters.
We need the country to return to monarchy and the king to come back because the political parties and system have failed in the country. When the source is so polluted, the entire system has gotten rotten.
The existence of this country is now fading. So a king is needed here. Without a king, our country will no longer exist. Within the next 15 years, this republic will break our country into pieces.
That's a grim assessment. The question is, what led to it? Political instability and lack of prosperity. This is what led to the current situation. Nepal has had 14 governments in 17 years. 14 governments in 17 years. 10 prime ministers have ruled the country in this period. It's almost like a game of musical chairs. All this churn has affected the country's growth. Look at the numbers. Nepal grew by 3.9% in 2024. It is projected to grow by 4.9% in 2025. This is down from 6 to 7% in the last decade. So Nepal's growth momentum has been lost. As a result, joblessness is also high. Youth unemployment is close to 20% in this country. Many young Nepalese have left the country in search of jobs. Around 2.1 million of them live outside Nepal. And that is more than 7% of the entire population. This crisis is not the making of one political party. Like I said, governments keep changing here, so all of them are equally responsible, which is why these protests are happening. They're not just about restoring the monarchy, they're about protesting the hardships. Instead of addressing all of this, what does the Prime Minister do? He just calls them terrorists. And he floats an India angle. It's a strategy that could easily backfire because right now the royalists are a fringe group. They have just 14 seats in Nepal's parliament. 14 out of 275 seats. Yes, they have mobilized a movement on the streets, but that is not backed by actual political power. If Prime Minister Oli is not careful, he may end up changing that. If the crackdowns intensify or if the ex-king is arrested, then this movement could explode. So now is a chance to prove that democracy works. Let's see if Oli makes the most of it. From one dysfunctional government, we turn to another. We are talking about Bangladesh. Born in 1971, the country was once a democracy, not anymore. It is now ruled by an unelected leader. You already know him. His name is Muhammad Yunus. He is the chief advisor of Bangladesh. This is a caretaker role, at least on paper. Yunus returned to Dhaka in August last year after the country saw violent protests. Former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was removed and Yunus was brought in on popular request apparently. He was tasked with reforming the nation's institutes, which he is yet to do. Instead, he has been busy running the country, which is not his mandate. Yunus acts and behaves like an elected leader. Let me remind you, he is not. He has never stood for elections, not a single vote has been cast in his name. He has always held advisory roles in the past, including now, but somehow he is the leader of Bangladesh. So much for credibility. And why are we talking about him tonight? Because he has made a trip and some statements. Muhammad Yunus was in China last week, his first bilateral state visit abroad. Bangladeshi leaders would normally visit India first, but not Muhammad Yunus. He went to China on a 4-day visit where he met President Xi Jinping and interacted with China's C-suite executives. Last Friday, he chaired an investment summit in Beijing, and this is what he said. The 7 states of northeast India are landlocked. They have no access to the ocean, so Bangladesh is the only guardian of the ocean. That's what he said. And then he called Bangladesh an extension of the Chinese economy. You have to listen to this.
7 states of India, eastern part of India, called 7 Sisters. They are landlocked country, landlocked region of India. They have no way to reach out to the ocean. We are the only guardian of the ocean for all this region. So this opens up a huge possibility. So this could be an extension of the Chinese economy.
Yunus talked about the 7 sisters of India. He was referring to the 7 states, Arunachal Pradesh, Assam, Meghalaya, Manipur, Mizoram, Nagaland and Tripura. These are the 7 Indian states in the northeast. Muhammad Yunus says these states are landlocked, which is great. We now know that he can read a map. Then he said that these states have no way to reach the ocean. Sure, they're not coastal states, but they're part of India. So India's coastline is their coastline and they definitely have access to one, a very large one, if I may add. Muhammad Yunus then said that Bangladesh is the only guardian of the ocean in the region. He is referring to the Indian Ocean here. The ocean is called the Indian Ocean. India's coastline is 10 times that of Bangladesh, but Yunus thinks Bangladesh is the guardian. Then he extended an invite to Chinese firms to quote-unquote produce in Bangladesh and sell in China. He basically wants China to play savior, and I'll tell you why. Bangladesh is witnessing a rapid decline under Muhammad Yunus. Inflation is skyrocketing, the GDP is shrinking, unemployment is at an all-time high, Hindus and other minorities are being targeted, the country's social fabric is breaking apart, corruption is rampant, and external debt is ballooning. That is why Yunus was in China, for money. Dhaka owes more than $6 billion to Beijing. Repaying China seems like an uphill task at the moment. So Yunus is offering an alternative. He wants Chinese firms to open shop in Bangladesh. Here's what he said.
From Bangladesh, you can go anywhere you want because the ocean is in our backyard. So this is the opportunity that we want to take. And not necessarily it will be something you produce and sell it to the world. You can produce in Bangladesh, sell it to China too. Because it's a market which is easier, cheaper to produce it in Bangladesh, or it's easier, cheaper to produce it in China. That will be the question you'll be raising yourself. Any kind of business is okay.
He says any kind of business is okay. It shows you the level of desperation. Maybe he's taking notes from his new friends in Pakistan. Bow, plead, and ask for Chinese money. That is Pakistan's playbook. No wonder the first call Yunus received after his Beijing trip was from Pakistan. Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has invited Muhammad Yunus to Pakistan. These two leaders met in December last year. They've been coming closer since. And where does this leave India? Debt-free for sure. India has had several engagements with the Yunus government. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is yet to meet him though. Dhaka says it has made multiple requests. But again, Yunus is not an elected leader. Prime Minister Modi is not obliged to meet him. In fact, India and Bangladesh will be at the BIMSTEC this week. The BIMSTEC is the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, which is a mouthful. Basically, this is a group which has both India and Bangladesh as members. They will have a summit in Thailand's capital, Bangkok, on the 4th of April. But like I said, a bilateral between Prime Minister Modi and Mohammad Yunus is unlikely, even more so after Yunus's recent statements. Picture this. It's lunchtime at school, the bell rings, kids rush to the cafeteria. Normally you'd hear the familiar sounds, chips crunching, soda bottles opening, candy wrappers being torn apart. It's the soundtrack of any school break, right? But not anymore in Mexico, because from today, Mexico has banned all sorts of junk food in schools. No chips, no soda, no ultra-processed snacks. Only home-cooked meals and plain old water. The goal is to fight an obesity crisis that has reached alarming levels. But will it work? Have other countries tried it before? Our next report tells you.
It's Monday morning in Mexico. There's the usual buzz of school kids, chattering and running through their school gates. But this time, there's something different. No crinkling of chip bags, no clinking of soda bottles, no candy wrappers rustling in their hands. It's because Mexico has banned the sale of junk food in schools. So what led to this decision? Well, Mexico has a problem, a big one. The country has one of the highest obesity rates in the world, and it starts quite young. According to UNICEF, Mexican kids consume more junk than any of their Latin American peers. Soda, candy, chips. These ultra-processed foods make up a staggering 40% of their daily calorie intake. The result, 1/3 of the nation's children are overweight or obese.
There is a high level of acceptance of this policy among parents. Some young people still don't like the idea very much, but deep down, they know it's for their health.
And this isn't the first time. Mexico has tried to tackle this problem earlier as well. In 2020, they tried warning labels. They were black and ominous and found on junk food packets. 2 states went a step further and banned the sale of junk food to children. But they didn't exactly shut down the fiesta. Junk food was still everywhere, sold in school canteens, stuffed in backpacks, and peddled by street vendors just outside school gates. So this time, Mexico is going bigger. Any food or drink that carries a black warning label is now banned from school grounds. And it's not just about taking junk food away. Schools are required to offer healthier alternatives. That means swapping out chips for bean tacos, candy for fresh fruit, and sugary sodas for plain water. Administrators caught breaking the rules face hefty fines, anywhere from $545 to $5,450. Parents are also being urged to pack healthier lunches.
I hope all parents continue the trend, so we are no longer the #1 country in childhood obesity. We have childhood obesity, and diseases like childhood diabetes are on the rise.
But does an all-out ban actually work? Other countries have tried similar approaches. Chile has arguably been the boldest in this arena. In 2016, the country enacted a sweeping set of regulations, banning cartoon mascots on sugary cereal boxes, forbidding junk food ads targeting children, and implementing front-of-package warning labels. The result? A 25% drop in sugary drink sales in just a few years. But soon, companies found loopholes. The UK took a slightly different route, opting for a sugar tax on soft drinks in 2018. They didn't want to ban outright, but wanted to nudge kids into choosing better. In 2023, Norway restricted all advertisements of unhealthy foods, especially to those under the age of 18. But the results have been a hit or a miss. It's one thing to ban junk food inside schools, but what about outside? Street vendors aren't just going to pack up and leave. As long as there's demand, there will be supply. Then there's the affordability issue. Junk food isn't just tasty, it's also cheap. And for many low-income families, a bag of chips is an easier option. So will this ban actually work? It's too early to say, but what's clear is that Mexico is serious about trying to turn things around.
Attention to detail, intricate hand drawings, and a slow, years-long, careful process. This is what many animated movies usually entail, like the ones from the famed Studio Ghibli. But last week, all of it changed. OpenAI launched its advanced AI image generator, and you all know what happened next. Users quickly began using it. They rendered image after image. They turned everything from memes to selfies into copies of the Japanese studio's work. And they flooded social media with Ghibli-style images. This spurred a global outage of ChatGPT over the weekend and forced its top boss to say, "Please chill, this is insane." Critics agree, indeed it is, because this viral imitation trend raises a range of concerns. Moral and legal ones, and more importantly, privacy concerns. Tonight we'll talk about that last bit, your data's privacy. Experts say that it may have gone for a toss here. Let us understand why. OpenAI has a privacy policy. It clearly states that the company collects the data that users feed it. Then it uses this data to train its AI models. So when you voluntarily upload your original personal images on ChatGPT, you expose facial data via pictures. You give OpenAI consent to process those images, your family photos, pictures of your home, pictures of your children, whatever it is that you have uploaded. OpenAI has free and easy access to all the pictures that you have voluntarily shared with it. Safe to say this is a serious safety concern, so experts are sounding an alarm. They say that the free-for-all Ghibli cuteness may come at a cost. Tech giants train their models without disclosing details, and this tech itself is new. So who knows what AI training involves exactly? Your photo could be misused. It could be manipulated. It could be sold for targeted ads. If the data is stolen, it could even end up on the dark web. And if this sounds scary, that's because it is. None of these risks are unprecedented. Have you heard of Clearview AI? This is an American startup. It deals with facial recognition. Last year, it was fined $33 million by a Dutch watchdog. The company was scraping billions of images from social media without people's consent, compiling them into a database and then selling them. Similarly, last year, an Australian company called OuterBox suffered a data breach. It had facial scans, driving licenses, addresses of 1 million people. All this data was stolen. Like I said, it is scary. And this is not just about your pictures. It is about all kinds of data, like your health data. Let's look at another tech giant, Apple. Apple is revamping its health app. It wants to analyze your health metrics, your heart rate, blood oxygen, calories, all of it. And it wants to give you live health advice with an AI tool. This will basically give you a doctor in your pocket. And it will give Apple a treasure trove of data. Now, don't get us wrong, this can be helpful in some cases, but it comes at a time when headline after headline shows this. Companies are collecting your health data and selling it, sometimes secretly, sometimes openly, but they're doing it. I have another example, 23andMe. This is another big name in the news for all the wrong reasons. This is a genetic testing service. People used it in hopes of learning fun things about their family, but now this company has gone under. It is up for sale. And so is the DNA information, the genetic data, the health histories, all of it, of 15 million customers. All this data is up for grabs to the highest bidder, so people are scrambling to delete it, and they're crashing the site in the process. Which brings this cautionary tale to a full circle, because this is about everything from Ghibli-style images to your DNA. Technology is growing by leaps and bounds. It is monitoring us. It is recording all kinds of data. It is encoding and decoding our faces, our feelings, our form. But what happens to this data? Is it really used for the better? Is it safe? Frankly, no one is sure. And that is a huge problem. So what should you do? We have the answer straight from the horse's mouth. We asked ChatGPT, is it safe to upload personal pictures in ChatGPT's Ghibli art generator, and listen to what it said. It is important to be cautious, avoid uploading sensitive or personal content, identifiable or private images, review the privacy policies of the service, and if you have any concerns, it's always a good idea to err on the side of caution. For decades now, scientists have been on a hunt for glowing, colorful ribbons of light, or what's called auroras, like the widely popular northern and southern lights here on Earth. Scientists were trying to find something similar on Neptune, the farthest planet in our solar system. And at last, their decades-long quest has come to an end. For the first time ever, scientists have spotted colorful waves in the atmosphere of this icy giant. And they're nothing like the ones we see on our planet. Here's a report.
Mainly green, but also red. And sometimes even pink, purple, or blue. These ribbons of light on Earth's north and south poles are some of its most fascinating features. But this doesn't mean that our planet is the only one with auroras. Over the years, scientists have found auroras on most planets, including Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and Uranus. But for decades now, scientists have not been able to find these lights on one planet, the solar system's most distant planet, Neptune. This sky-blue ice giant is the fourth largest planet in our solar system, and its auroras have long eluded astronomers. That is, until now. Scientists have finally spotted a shimmering, glowing spectacle in its atmosphere, and this is all thanks to the James Webb Space Telescope. It is a very powerful instrument. It has highly sensitive infrared instruments, and it was able to capture the diaphanous colors of light. But why is this discovery important? To understand this, let's talk about the basics. Auroras happen when energetic particles, or high-energy charged particles from the sun, slam into a planet's atmosphere and bounce off the gases. This is a particle collision, and it causes flashes of light. Auroras have a lot to do with a planet's magnetic field, its strength, its location. This is what guides the auroras, which means that each planet generates auroras differently. On Earth, you will find auroras arching over the poles, because this is where the magnetic field interacts with the solar wind. But this is not true for Neptune. Its unique auroras spill over either side of its equator, because this planet has a wonky magnetic field. If this sounds weird, hold up. Much like their location, their range differs as well. On Earth, auroras form a panoply of colors. On Jupiter, they are the most powerful in the solar system. They are not dancing colors, but permanent caps of ultraviolet lights. 4 of its moons have auroras too. Saturn has UV auroras too, as does Mars. Venus has green auroras. Mercury has X-ray auroras. They are not visible to the naked eye because the planet has no atmosphere. Meanwhile, on Neptune, the auroras come in colors, but they are much duller like the ones we see on Earth, because this planet is ice cold, and colder temperatures mean fainter auroras. These subtle differences make the dance of atmospheric lights all the more interesting, but this discovery also does so much more. It will allow scientists to learn more about this planet far, far away, and this could reveal what was previously hidden, much like the aurora itself.
March is celebrated as Women's Month in the West, a time to honor women and their major contributions. US President Donald Trump also joined in on the celebrations, but his remarks have not gone down well. First, Trump was given a softball by a journalist. He was asked to define a woman. His first response: a woman is somebody who can have a baby. He then went on to call himself the fertilization president. Until recently, he was the father of the IVF. Now he is the fertilization president. And the irony? Trump has single-handedly curbed women's rights in the United States. You have to listen to this.
Since Democrats seem to struggle answering this question, I wanted to ask you, what is a woman and why is it important that we understand the difference between men and women?
Well, it's sort of easy to answer for me because a woman is somebody that can have a baby under certain circumstances. She has a quality. A woman is a person who's much smarter than a man, I've always found. A woman is a person that doesn't give a man even a chance of success. To the women, between the fertilization and all of the other things that we're talking about, it's going to be great. We're joined today, fertilization. I'm still very proud of it. I don't care. I'll be known as the fertilization president. That's all. That's not bad. That's not bad. I've been called much worse. Actually, I like it, right? I like it. Thank you.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. The holy month of Ramadan has come to an end and the world is celebrating Eid ul-Fitr. So here's a look at Eid festivities from across the globe. We'll see you tomorrow.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
أكبر الله أكبر
السلام عليكم.
الله أكبر الله أكبر
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر